Stacy, how are you? It's been a long time since I've seen you. Yes, but not recently. Yeah, I broke it in 3 places, so now I have a plate and 7 screws.
Does that hinder your knocking on doors?
I have a lot of help, so.
This is good.
Yes, yeah. No, I can cruise, but climbing porches is difficult, so no, I've got a lot of help. It's been all right.
Still warm to you?
Yeah, a little bit.
In here.
Yeah. In case you know the guy that knows. It's a lot.
Trying to get settled and stay there again.
Although, if you've ever been to replace somebody,
Actually, cut on Saturday, believe it or not. Get that on Saturday and it'll go Saturday. I turned it down one more.
oh, thank you.
At least it'll start it.
I think it's all these hot bodies. All this hot air that we're
Hot
gonna
air.
do. Yeah. So you're running this year?
Nope.
No? You got 2 more?
I'll wake up in my
Yeah.
20 years.
That was a long time.
And that was even with a 2-4-year vacation in there.
Yeah.
Like a 4-year vacation.
Well, in the interest of keeping things going on a time schedule and in respect to everybody's time this evening, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm John Cohen, and I'm going to be the moderator this evening. I'm going to start here and then be at that table, but I'm demonstrating to any candidates in the room where they're supposed to speak. If they're not, there's only one race that has competition, and they'll be at the dais, but all other candidates we're asking to speak and face the audience because it's being filmed for Facebook. And so if you're not facing this way, you have your back to the audience and to the video. So we ask everybody to stand here and speak into the microphone and project to the audience. If there are any candidates here that haven't checked in, please do that right now. And I also want to say that all questions to candidates have to come from a written note and brought to the table. So if you need a pad to write on, raise your hand, and Rylan will bring it around, and he'll pick up the questions too and bring them to the question table. I want to start by thanking our sponsors, the Ottawa Area Chamber of Commerce Legislative Action Committee, KOFO, and AT&T. And we also want to thank the county for letting us use the annex. So I'll remind everybody to turn your cell phones off if you haven't, and the restrooms are down the hall and to the right if you don't know where those are. So we're going to start with candidates that have no opposition, and they're going to be allowed to introduce themselves and speak for 3 minutes. And we'll follow this order. We're starting out with the U.S. House, Kansas Senate District, Kansas Senate District number 3, Kansas Senate District 12, House of Representatives District 5, House of Representatives District 59, State Board of Education, and then there's several candidates from the county here who will also be allowed to introduce themselves for the position they're running for. So with that, I will go ahead and go to the moderator's table, and I'll call up the first candidate. So we have a Democrat and a Republican running for Kansas Senate District number 3, I believe it is. And so for, first we'll have Democrat Dina Sackler come forward.
Thanks, everybody. My name is Dina Sadler, running for Kansas Senate District 3, which obviously includes Ottawa and part of Franklin County, down to over to Osage. I live in Topeka, so Shawnee County, and then a small part of Lawrence and Douglas County. I'm a former newspaper publisher here in Kansas, and more recently I worked on Governor Kelly's senior staff, also worked for Lieutenant Governor Toland at the Department of Commerce. And when elected, I'll be the first woman with military service to serve in the Kansas Senate. So very excited about the opportunity. Really running because I'm ready to defend our freedoms, from our freedom to make our own healthcare decisions to our freedom to vote, both under attack currently. So I think it's time for a change in direction. I'm a very strong supporter of public schools, public education, and that includes defending schools against the school vouchers scam, which is really nothing more than welfare for the wealthy. Very big believer, obviously, in supporting teachers. I'm supported by the state's biggest teacher organization. Very proud of that fact. I'm also a supporter of expanding healthcare access for all Kansans, and that includes Medicaid expansion. There's really no good reason why we haven't expanded Medicaid in Kansas. It would help over 150,000 Kansans, and that includes 40,000 children. So there's no good reason. It's just fiscally responsible to help our friends and neighbors. So very much a proponent of affordable housing initiatives, again, affordable health care and affordable child care. That's how we build strong communities, and that's how we build strong families. I had a chance working for Governor Kelly and Lieutenant Governor Toland to see firsthand their work on economic development. So I want to thank the Chamber and everybody here for what you've done as well. We can't grow our communities and grow our state without strong partnerships with folks at the local level. That's your Chamber, obviously, and other economic development forces, local governments. The partnerships with local entities, the state and the federal government have been excellent, which is why we're achieving record economic development here in Kansas. So I've served on Chamber boards, I've served on Kansas Main Street boards, so very much a proponent of what they're doing, and will support that when I'm in the legislature. My website, SatlerforKansas.com, please take a look. Would appreciate your support and appreciate your vote on November 5th. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. So I should have mentioned that the question table are Lewis Reed and Greg Bohannon. And Greg, are you going to be a timekeeper for us too? Okay. I didn't realize that Richard Jackson wasn't here, and he always keeps time. And so I hope that was under 3 minutes there. Okay. The next candidate for District 3 is a Republican candidate, Rick Cluse.
All right, well, thank you everyone for being here tonight. My name is Rick Cluse, and I'm current senator, the new District 3, and you heard my opponent talk about the boundaries. But, you know, it's not just about what we're going to do, but what we've been doing. And one thing has been clear, my voting record. And my cards are available back there, but I have strived and worked together with different ones to cut taxes on every level, and there's still more that we can do there. I wouldn't say we had a home run in cutting taxes this session, but I think we did something that helped all Kansans, and especially our veterans. So limit regulations, having a small business. I'm up in Topeka, and I have a nonprofit. Of course, you don't own the nonprofit, but I founded God's Storehouse, and we have 80-some employees there. And when I first ran 4 years ago, my son said, just run on who you are. And so he said, you're the community man. And so, you know, I'm all about connecting with people, and that's what I do best, just meeting one-on-one and just being about the people. And that's what this whole work should be, service, and, you know, having a good balance there. So limiting regulations is something that I believe strongly. And the third one, safety. There's so much that we can be said on that, but we need safe communities, and I think that's something that I will continue to strive in supporting, that all of us can feel safe and at home wherever we live. Advocating for property rights, and we've had some challenges there over the last couple of years, and And I think owners need to have that security that, you know what, this is my property, leave it alone. And lastly, reducing government size. You know what, folks, the reality of it is we've got to just take care of our people and constituents in our community. So reducing government size and realizing that when we're making policy and we're doing things, you know, we need to keep our districts in mind. And so these are some things that are very clear in my last 4 years, and you can go back there and you can pick up a card. Go to rickcluce.com, that's rickcluce.com. Learn more about us. Most of all, I want to say I've been married to my wife for 39 years, and I have 4 boys, 7 grandsons, and I wouldn't know what to do with a girl. So thank you.
Thank you, Rick. And now from the Kansas Senate District Number 12, the Republican candidate Karen Tyson is here this evening.
Wore new shoes, shouldn't have done that. Well, thank you. Is my opponent not here? Okay, so just the 3 minutes then?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'll be glad to take questions if anybody wants them. You guys know me well. So Karen Tyson, Kansas Senate. The Senate did change somewhat this year. Ottawa and Wellsville are no longer part of the 12th district. It does include Coffee, Wilson, Woodson, and Lynn, Miami, Anderson, and Allen counties. It's a pretty big district, guys, and we've been working it very hard. I'm very proud of what we've done in the legislature. We could have done a lot more. Rick's right. We didn't get I say we got a home run, but we didn't get a grand slam, and we could have with tax legislation. One of the things that I was very happy with, and coincidentally, you can check my ads from 4 years ago. I had said to remove state income taxes from Social Security, and guess what? We got it done this year. It took a lot of work, it took a lot of years, but we did get it done. So no state income tax on Social Security. That was massive. Another thing that we did that in this last 4 years was implement a property tax freeze for disabled veterans and seniors, low income seniors in need, a property tax freeze so that they're able to stay in their home. We need to address the rest of property taxes for everyone. It is literally taxing people out of their homes, and we have to address that issue. I look forward to working with people on that. Taxes aren't the only issue that we have in Topeka. We have a spending problem. Our spending increased $1.1 billion last year, over 13%. This year, $1.2 billion increase, again, over 14% increase. This is not sustainable. And we could afford more tax cuts for Kansans, hardworking Kansans, and keep that tax money into their pocket. The other thing, besides taxes and spending, you guys know we've got to protect our Constitution and our freedoms. They are being attacked from within. We've never seen things like this before. An open border, and you say it doesn't impact us. One of the resolutions that I was able to get passed in the Senate and sent to the President and Congress would have asked for, when we do our U.S. Census, to not only count people, but to count citizens versus illegals and others that are here. Because you may not realize it, it impacts your representation. We lose U.S. Congress seats based on that count. We lose Senate seats, we lose House seats. So rural Kansas loses if we do not address these issues. I look forward to any questions that you guys have. Please contact me. You know I'm very diligent, and constituent services is a major issue that I try to work on. I thank you guys for your support and ask for your vote in August. Some of you are going to be voting in July, so I'll ask you for your vote in the August primary. Thank you.
From the Kansas House of Representatives, District 5, Henry Johns is here.
such a nice night when you could be home barbecuing. Here you are listening to us. How many people are here from the 5th District? That's Wellsville area in Franklin County. The 5th District goes through southern Douglas County, through Baldwin, Wellsville, over to Edgerton, Gardner, Spring Hill, and down to Ottawa. So it's pretty big. I'm not a professional politician, but I decided to run for this seat to represent the people of the district because I feel they're not being represented adequately in Topeka right now. I feel Topeka has failed us in several areas. You've heard about taxes, that's a big one. Schools, I'm in favor of funding our public schools. Public dollars for public schools. I'm in favor of expanding Medicaid to close that insurance gap, to help our small rural hospitals and clinics stay open instead of folding up like they have been across southeast Kansas. I would like to see my friends who live in rural parts down south of Fort Scott be able to stay in their homes instead of moving away because of health issues, because they can't find care. Those are some of the things that concern me. But as someone who's running to represent the people of the district, I need to hear from you. Because if a representative doesn't want to hear from you or doesn't take time to listen to you, there's something wrong. You need a new representative. So that's why I'm here, folks. There we go. I would appreciate support from my Wellsville friends. And thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And so from the Kansas House of Representatives, District 59, we've got two here, Republican Rebecca Schmoe. Do we need to accommodate you in some way, Rebecca?
I mean, just give me a minute.
Okay.
This is what a trimalleolar fracture looks like about a month and a half afterwards. So that means I broke it in 3 spots. Oh, it is good to be here tonight. Thank you guys so much for coming out. We did this 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I explained to all of you guys, I introduced myself and I said I am passionately for life and for liberty and for personal responsibility. 2 years ago, I stood up here and I said, we've got some issues we need to address in the State House. Thankfully, we were able to address several of those. Thankfully, we did get something done with taxes. Was it enough? No. It was not enough. Is it better than what we have? Absolutely it is. We were also able to fully fund education with an additional $75,000 into special ed. Being as though that I used to work as a paraprofessional right here in town, that was a very big deal to me. The kids that are being left behind by our system, I cannot explain to you the disservice that's being done. We were told in the committee hearings in both education and K through 12 that at-risk kids, the free lunch kids, they could not be expected to get past a level 2. Level 4, level 3 going to 4 is what Kansas Constitution says is required. But somehow, even while we're funding special education, even while we're funding public education, it's being lost in translation. And we have struggling kids. Our community deserves better. Our kids deserve better. I just want to thank you guys so much for the support that I have been given over the last 2 years, the communication that I've had across the district. It has been phenomenal. I am able to take your voice, your concerns, and we were able to make sure that we reduced red tape on local businesses, and we've got more to reduce now. And for the farmers, for our ag community, it is about time that we have farmer-led policies put in place. And I am so excited to be able to take that to Topeka and get your work done. Thank you.
And Democrat candidate Michael Lewis is here.
Well, also like Henry, I'm not a politician, so I got a paper here to keep me on track. First of all, good evening. My name is Michael Lewis. I'm a Democratic candidate for House District 59. I would first like to thank all of you for coming, those of you watching at home, and extend my thanks to the Legislative Action Committee of the Ottawa Area Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, and for all that you do for local businesses and various community events you arrange. I'm a 38-year-old father of two. Both of my children attend the school district here in Ottawa. Although I was born in Maryland, Kansas has been my home since I moved here prior to the 7th grade. I graduated Ottawa High School while living in rural Miami County just outside of Wayne. In my mid-20s, I spent some time back in Maryland, but Kansas called me back on the birth of my first child. It was here that I chose to raise my family, drawn by the quality of life and the community spirit that makes Kansas so special. I have worked in a variety of industries and spent the last 10 years working at a local distribution center. And throughout my life, I often find myself standing up for my rights and the rights of those around me. Shortly after I announced my run for Kansas House, I was asked why. Mixed in my response was essentially the fact that this year will make 20 years of me voting in every election, and I feel that I've never yet voted for somebody that truly represents me. I'm frustrated with the divisiveness in today's politics. I know there are plenty of corporate influence politicians in our state and federal governments, and I think it's about time to have representation for and by the working class. What I intend to do, if given the opportunity to represent my district, is to represent the interests and give the perspectives of everyday Kansans on every issue addressed in committee and on the floor, to propose common sense legislation and amendments to legislation in the public eye, to in turn either help the people or show the people whose side the politicians are really on. If you would like to learn more about me and my positions on the issues, or support my campaign, please visit my website at lewisforkansas.com. I'll be humbled to receive your vote in November and honored to represent you in the Kansas legislature. Since I have a few seconds left for my time, I'll hit an issue that's been spoken of a lot tonight, taxes. Visiting the IRS building in DC, I understand, yes, taxes are bad. On the building, it says, there's a quote that says, taxes are what we pay to live in a civilized society. Yes, tax breaks are needed. But when you look at the math of the income tax breaks that were just handed out, I may save about $40. However, one of the richest Kansans is going to receive $750,000. Could have been more fairly, could have been spent on things. I have a 15-year-old autistic niece that just now got released off of waivers for her special needs. Thank you.
And for the State Board of Education from our district, we have one candidate here this evening, Nancy Moneymaker.
Hello, my name is Nancy Moneymaker, and our website is called moneymakerforkansas.com. So go there and you'll hear everything I'm not going to say from what I read. I'm on the Senate Senate District number 3 are all the boundaries that I have. I also cover 3 other senatorial districts besides 3. The 3 is what you all will be covered in. So my priorities for myself, for my life, are God first, family second, others third, and that's treat all people as I would want to be treated. So I answered the call for the Board of Education District 4 because our school needs help. All schools, our schools need help. And we as parents and grandparents need to step up. The board needs to do better. So we need more transparency, more open conversations, more common sense in policies and priorities. We need excellence in the classroom, and we need to go back to the basics in education. I'm a lifelong Kansas resident. I'm married and have 3 children and 5 grandchildren. And I went to KU and got a BS in geology. I will come to this board position as an unconventional teacher because I homeschooled my kids K through 12, and we reevaluate it every year, and it was working, so we kept going. And I got some help from co-ops, sports teams, outside music lessons, outside language lessons, church groups. I also was a small business owner, and you'll see it on my website, and I worked within my budget. And as a lab scientist, which I also did, I had to stay within well-defined established processes and procedures. My background has well positioned me to pursue out-of-the-box strategies to get back to the basics and help kids excel in the classroom. I want to pursue board policies that, number 1, advocate for the students by meeting them individually where they're at. Number 2, advocate for teachers to fully support them in their passion to have their students excel with age-appropriate curriculum. Number 3, advocate for parents by having their voices heard in all of the board policies. So these board policies directly affect your kids and your grandkids. So thank you for your time, coming here tonight and listening to us, and go to moneymakerforkansas.com. Thank you.
I think that is all the state candidates, unless somebody's come in since we have began here this evening. And I'm not seeing. Okay, so now we will go to our county contests, and we have 3 uncontested races here this evening. Marilyn Stevenson is running for county treasurer.
I'm Marilyn Stevenson. I've worked in the treasurer's office since 2017. I've been the deputy treasurer since 2018, and I am running uncontested, so Jody will be retiring before long, so that's all I got.
Sheriff Jeff Richards is here running uncontested again.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Richards. I have the honor of serving as the sheriff here in Franklin County, and I thank you guys for that. I've been doing this for 11 years now. I'm running uncontested, which if you have ever run a campaign, uncontested is the way to go. But when I ran for a couple different reasons to start off with. I got in this, I wanted to do some things to change culture. I want to do some professional development, some community engagement. And so I want to highlight some of our staff because that's where these things really, really matter. There's a leadership guru by the name of Jim Collins that I read a lot of his stuff, and there's a book, Good to Great, and one of the concepts of that is to get the right people on the bus, right? So we've kind of helped, we've revamped our hiring process and our selection and how we do those things. And then you take it to the next step, and that's to get all those people in the right seats on the bus. And that's where the development comes through. It has paid off very well for us. I'm proud of the people we have. A couple of years ago, our jail commander was the corrections supervisor of the year by the recognized nationally for that. Last summer, I was recognized by the Small Rural Law Enforcement Executives as their National Sheriff of the Year. You don't do those things on your own, and you do those by having the right people on your bus and in the right seats, and we have that here in Franklin County. I'm very proud of the work that they do, and I don't want to offend any of our sheriff people at other offices across the state, but Kyle's hiding there in the back in the dark, but he's probably the best undersheriff in the state of Kansas, I will tell you. I'm very proud of him. One of the programs that we have done is we've really focused on our community engagement, and we will continue to do that. Deputy Hedges is here. He's one of our community action team members, and he goes out and does those things. And our program has been recognized nationally. Our community engagement with the inmate population is very unique. And last year I was invited to go down to Atlanta to speak to an international law enforcement community engagement conference to highlight what is being done here in Franklin County. And then the Department of Justice flew me out to Washington, D.C. to be a part of a program called All Sheriff's Authority. And what they wanted to hear about is what is going on in the jail in Franklin County, Kansas. How are you guys doing the rehab and the things that you're doing? So, again, can't be done just by one guy. I just get to be, the guy whose name's on the ticket, but it's the men and women of our office that are doing the work, and we should be very, very proud of what they're doing. So thank you, and I appreciate you voting for me to help keep me in office so I can continue leading these people for 4 more years. Thanks.
And also running uncontested is County Attorney Brandon Jones.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Jones. I am the Franklin County Attorney. Coming up on 6 years, November. I took office November 2018. But I've been a prosecutor for 25 years. When I was in high school, my dad was a state trooper for 25 years. My mom was a high school English teacher for many, many years. And they told me to choose a profession that helps make the world a better place. And so I went to law school. I had the idea of wanting to be a prosecutor or wanting to be an FBI agent. And I got into prosecution. I've never turned back. It's almost 25 years I've been doing it. I'm real lucky to be here. I've lived here in Ottawa since 2005. I started my career here in Franklin County back in 2000. I was here for 3 years before going to a few other offices and then came back here. So I've been here coming up on almost 10 years here in Franklin County, living here for almost 20 years. I'm real lucky that we have an awesome sheriff, an awesome police chief, both here in the crowd, and then another good one up in Wellsville. And as a team, we work together to try to keep the community safe. I don't think it's possible to eliminate crime. It's always the goal to try to reduce crime. You always hear that. But the reality is it's going to be out there. And when crime occurs, you need good people in the law enforcement to conduct the investigations, and you need good people in the prosecutor's office to hold them accountable. And that's one thing I think in our society that's kind of gone by the wayside is accountability. And so that's where my role comes in, is to try to hold people accountable, to try to punish, but also rehabilitate those we think that we can rehabilitate, because they're going to be back out in the community with you at some point. And some of the people need to just be removed from the community for as long as we can get them out of here, because they're a constant problem. My office, I think we have, like the sheriff, I think we have good staff, good attorneys. We work hard in the courtroom. We've got a lot of big things going on right now. I don't know if this is ever true of Franklin County, but right now we have 5 people sitting in our jail charged with either first or second degree murder. So it's pretty serious crime we're dealing with, and we need serious people to do it. And I feel like I've got the experience in my career to be able to do that. I've enjoyed serving this community, the community I live in, the community I've raised my children in, and I'm looking forward to 4 more years. As the sheriff said, if you're going to run, uncontested is the way to go. So, but I really would appreciate your vote and continue to support the people in my office and the people of law enforcement and the jobs that we do. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Unless there's another county candidate other than the 3rd District County Commission race, we're going to take a 3 to 5 minute break to allow those candidates from District three to come and up to the dais, and we'll get the name placards out, and I'll collect questions from Louis and Greg.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I mean, aside from yeah, let me get all that.
37 layers of hard pizza. Oh, yeah. If COVID, if we're trying to come back, so we set out one whole year, then we shut down. That's hard. Just build that back up again, go again.
It is, because people make plans.
Oh, yeah, well, and we were right in the point. We was already done a lot of the plan. A lot of work was already done. And just had county asked, and we agreed. We did. Oh, that would have been
I know, we all look around.
in our health department, emergency manager held breakdown. We didn't have a big they had run their clinic like clockwork.
Okay, I think the candidates are ready. So we can come back to order. We're going to allow each candidate 2 minutes for an opening statement and introduce yourself, and then we have some questions that have been submitted. So in no order, I'll start in the middle with Sabrina. Sabrina Metter.
Hello, I'm Sabrina Metter. Obviously, we're running for District 3 County Commissioner. I've lived here in Franklin County my entire life. I have been married to my husband, I believe, next week for 25 years. And we have 3 sons. I am a home educating parent. I have also owned a business here in town. I volunteer in many aspects and enjoy working with all different areas of the community. I help it used to be every week, but every other week at the Pomona Food Pantry, planning and distributing the food for those in that community. I have had this passion to come and run for commissioner because I felt that there was this urgent need for representation for our county, and I felt that if I waited 4 more years, it would be too late.
Thank you. And just so, in the interest of fairness, I'll alternate who goes first each time. So, John, if you want to go next, John Markinette, and introduce yourself a little bit while you're running.
I'm John Markinette. I was asked years ago about running, and so now I finally decided to run. There's a lot of problems in the community that need to be addressed, roads, everything like that. Ditches, they need to be cleaned. Control the water, control the road. A lot of people, I put something on Facebook earlier, asking the community what their big issues were. And I hear potholes, I hear the new center out there coming in. But nobody on the panel that sits up here every week or whatever they do, or the city, had one leg to do with that. It's been put on their plate, and now they have to finish it. We need to get, our income is one of the lowest around. Our household income, it's about $1,100 a week. People are just falling. There's no way around that. We have to get better jobs in here. I can guarantee you one thing. You know, the pickup council people running, I can guarantee you one thing. If I'm elected, I'm gonna be up there pounding on their door because there's so much this community needs. We need better jobs. We gotta get that income up. That's gonna help on the taxes. You know, our taxes, we're one of the highest counties around on percentile. Only thing that changes this from Johnson County is the home values, but we pay a massive amount. And towards our sheriff department, we do have a good sheriff department. I will vote for him even if there was somebody else running, because God's first, his family values, and the values he has for this community. That's what we have to have. We have to have somebody that just has the basic common sense to run and act for the people. But I'll tell you, one of the first things I want to do is go to the state. Help us. We need help.
Sean Turner,
Thank you. Three's always been a good number for me, John. Good evening. My name is Sean Turner. I'm a lifelong resident of Franklin County. Our family's been in this community for a long time. Both sides of our family go back at least 5 generations into Franklin County with farmers and small business owners on both sides. Running for county commission is something that's been on my mind for many years, and it seemed at the time was critical. There's so many opportunities coming our way and so many things to make sure that we are doing right by the taxpayers and the citizens, using their dollars in the most efficient ways and making sure that our programming is in such a way to support all citizens of Franklin County. Having been a high school teacher, I know how hard it is to make sure that one class topic works for every student, works for your A students, works for your B students, works for your students that don't wish they were at school at all. And similarly in the county, when we've got a lot of different perspectives, and we've got to make sure that what we're moving forward with is what works for as many people as what we possibly can. As with any good house, you have to start with a strong foundation. As with a strong community, with a strong county, we need that strong foundation. And so my platform lies on a foundation of foundations to drive, foundations of our we've had so many people ask about roads, just like John said, and we've got a fantastic team, we've got fantastic equipment. We just have to make sure that they are provided with the opportunities and with the equipment and with the training that they need to be successful. Looking at our other opportunities and foundations, we've got to look at our foundation of identity in the county. Surrounding counties, we've seen a lot of growth, a lot of expansion, a lot of change in the landscape in the last 20, 30, 50 years. What do we want Franklin County to look like in the next 10, 20, 50 years? Do we want to be covered in condominiums? Do we want to be a bedroom community to Kansas City? Or do we want to maintain our identity as small town America, as an agricultural community? And so that's why I feel it's a critical time to have the right voices at the table to make sure that we move Franklin County forward. Thank you.
So this is the first question that came from the audience, and we'll give you each 2 minutes, and John, we'll start with you this time. So in talking with Franklin County citizens, what have you heard as their greatest concerns? What are your top concerns, and what are your plans to address those concerns? So John, 2 minutes.
Okay, roads. There's a lot of problems with the roads. The operators run too fast. They actually need to be running 3 to 5 miles, and there's not one that does. The ditches, if you don't control the water, if you don't clean the ditches, you'll never maintain the road. The ditches you have to get that water going in the right direction, not back over the top of the road. And education. The biggest part of our taxes go to education, but our education is really slacking. I've been told that the students are lazy. That's the wrong attitude, that's the wrong view to even put that out there. When you do that to a kid, you're restricting him for at least 5 years. He's going to believe it. Whatever you put to a child, they're going to believe. So we need mentorship. We need people to come together and help these kids because they're our future. If they're not successful in life, they're going to be our next tax base. You know, they need to be able to get the better jobs.
There's a variety of topics that have been brought up to me by residents of Franklin County. Roads are by and large the top one. But as I mentioned, we've got good equipment, we've got good people. Just need to look at further advanced training and making sure that they have the things that they need in order to get the job done. The second thing that has been brought up to me by a lot of folks is property taxes. As all of you know, we've experienced an extreme amount of inflation, and with everything that's happened in the real estate market, houses have sold for ridiculous prices. Those all influence their neighbors' property values, which then influences your property taxes. I would be interested in looking at a 7 to 10 year rolling average, like we do for agricultural use land, to see if that might level out property taxes for our citizens so that they're not seeing an extreme increase. But as we look at inflation, if there's 10% inflation and your property taxes go up 10%, that only allows your county to manage the status quo, because just as your property taxes have gone up 10%, your groceries have gone up 10%. Similarly, all of the expenses at the county level have also gone up 10%. And of course, when we pay more for something, we expect more, but we do have to remember that they're up against the same things that we are in our households, that as everything gets more expensive, we've got to make sure that we're managing those dollars as well as we can to get the most bang for our buck.
Well, obviously, we all live in the same county, and the same thing has been addressed to me as well, the taxes and the roads. And they kind of go hand in hand in some aspects. Having actually helped build roads, and it's an industry that I'm very familiar with, I know that I do agree with we need to train the guys that we do have. And I also know that, having watched many commissioner meetings, that we have had a high turnover. The part with that, with taxes, that makes it hard, we want to lower taxes, is our workers need a living wage. I know one worker who used to work for the county personally, and his beginning salary and living in a home that had decent rent, that was not the norm for what everybody else was paying, could not live on his own with what the salary was that the county was giving. So if we pay these guys more, I think they also need to be held accountable more, but that would encourage them, you know, you get what you pay for. And I think that's something that we should strive. Also, setting in some systems when your motor grader guy is going out and working on the roads. If they see something, then let's fix it. Like driving home, we have these huge rainstorms that come up. And if you see where like the rocks off in the ditch, as John mentioned, there needs to be a system set in place with these guys to fix that. And I believe that I would be able to give suggestions for that, and hopefully we can, you know, if we save money in rock, which is a high budget item that our tax dollars is paying for, if we can save a little bit of money here, there, and everywhere, then maybe it will add up and we'll have greater savings.
Okay, this next question, Sean, we're going to start with you. What are your views on alternative energy, wind and solar, and allowing them to be located in Franklin County?
So for a private landowner looking at...
Sean, I'm sorry, 90 seconds, a minute and a half on this question. Okay, I'm sorry, starting now, you didn't lose time.
So as we look at farmers and ranchers that may have a barn that they need lights on, but it's not capable to be able to run, or not economical to run electric wire to that barn, or if we have a rancher that needs to pump water with a windmill for their livestock, I think it should absolutely be that landowner's prerogative to put a solar panel on their roof or a windmill out by their well to be able to pump. But when we look at larger scale installations, I think we need to be very careful. We need to think about that agriculture is our county's greatest industry. But agriculture is our bread and butter. And if we go to look at planting large-scale installations on property that definitely affects our county's main economic driver, then that's an issue. If we look at using ground in such a way that we limit our ability to grow in the way that we organically need to be able to grow, that is an issue. Again, as I stated in my platform, I want to think about what our county is going to look like in the next 10, 20, 50 years. Do we want to be an industrial county that takes care of the needs of all other counties, or do we want to be a county that maintains its small town agricultural feel and that is somewhere that folks definitely want to live, to maintain that way of life? And I think it's really important to decide what we want to be in the future, who we want to take care of. Do we want to take care of the energy needs of counties surrounding us, or do we want to take care of ourselves first?
Again, like, we seem to all kind of agree on the same aspects. With the wind and solar, I do believe that as a homeowner or an individual, that you should have that right to do that. When we get to the industrial level, there needs to be a lot of consideration when the county brings that up. I will say that our county did do a great job of starting that process by making zoning regulations for the county. However, because when you hear of counties that have no zoning regulations and they are just being taken advantage of, I know that it's a passion, and when you hear how these industries are taking, my mind just totally went blank. But anyways, because this is the reason why I'm here, is that wind and energy, the zoning regulations that we have are not adequate to protect the non-participating landowners and to protect them themselves. Our regulations do not cover anything with the infrastructure with it, whether it's battery storage or generational transmission lines. And so before anything would need to go forward, we would have to really step up and get the zoning regulations in order to protect our citizens.
John, when you respond, could you move the mic a little closer? Somebody, several in the back said they can't hear you back there, so just speak a little closer to the...
Is that better?
That's better. I think that's better.
On solar, I do have solar. $87,000 later, I still pay electric bill. Commercial solar, I don't agree with. The factors aren't there towards cost, what the county would pay, it's not there. Because the cost of putting it in is too high. I don't pay much through the summer, but I do pay a lot in the winter. So I'm really not for solar or wind. I don't want to hear the wind turbines. I don't think anybody in here does. If I had a piece of property that they put a windmill next to, I'd be pissed. Because that's all you're going to hear is that pump.
So John, we'll start with you on this next question. What are your views on how the transient guest tax should be managed? Should it remain a county commission responsibility or return to a separate organization which advocates events that bring people to Franklin County for overnight stays? And we'll go with 90 seconds again on this question.
That one's a little bit on me there. You got that one on me. I believe the county should, but we should be bringing in all kinds of things to bring income in. This. The car show brings in a lot of money for the community. I would like to see the fairgrounds grow. I would like to see an arena put out there. I'd like to see a lot of stuff coming into the community. So I wanted to stay with the county.
Sean?
As many of you know, we own a business in downtown Ottawa, and every week we have folks from out of town, out of state that are visiting our community. Some of them are riding the rail trails. Some of them are just in town for antiquing. Multiple times a year we have folks that are even in internationally. We get Germany, England, Asia, all over the place. Interesting people that pop into our downtown that are excited to visit our community. And as John mentioned, the car show is a huge driver for us. The tractor show is a huge driver, but I would say that those are not the only two tourism attractions, the only two tourism events that we have in Franklin County every year. I believe there is a lot of opportunity to utilize those transient guest tax dollars in a way that increases our tourism, that then in turn increases our tax revenue from folks that stay in our hotels, eat at our restaurants, shop at our stores. And I have missed in previous years the presence that we have seen from a really active visitor information center and from a tourism team. And I do believe that there would be an opportunity to explore the opportunities that a stronger tourism board, tourism committee could do to utilize those transient guest tax dollars in an effective way.
Well, it's kind of crazy you asked that question because someone at church stopped me and said, "You're running for commissioner. And if you win, I would like you to bring up the transient guest tax and how it's used." And, from them, I learned, they were kind of involved with it in years past, that at that time, the money was used for the courthouse because they were told that the courthouse was the main tourist attraction of the county. I would like to see what people, those who are interested in promoting tourism, because that's what the tax is for, is promoting tourism in the county, what would those ideas, what are your ideas? What do you want to see to be promoted more in the county? And as a committee, a separate committee to do it, I think we would want to talk more about that. I know what that was also brought to me, because this tax, I believe at this time, is only generated here in Ottawa because of we're the only place that has hotels. But is that something, do we keep only that money here in Ottawa, or does it get spread out through the rest of the county? Would it be something with population, like a percentage goes to these different areas based on their population? Because some of the smaller towns do have events that we could promote, but if that tax dollars are there to promote tourism, then I think we need to use them to promote tourism.
Okay, this next question, Sabrina, we'll start with you. What is your experience in the budgeting process? What specifically could you bring to the commission regarding financial planning?
Financial planning. Well, I have managed a business, I've managed a farm, I have managed a school, and that would be my home educating school. My husband and I have, if anybody's done Dave Ramsey, where you can live like no one else, so you can live like no one else. That is my philosophy, don't do wasteful spending. And I would like to, are there things that the budget has that could be a performance-based budgeting, where that area sets goals, and if those goals are not met, then we reevaluate how much money we're giving to that area. Other options are just, can we spend less somewhere? Like with the roads, how can we best utilize the money that's going into certain areas? And a lot of times, having looked over the county budget that's usually 45 pages long, as an outsider looking in, I would like to know the details of where the money, so transient guest tax example, I know the money doesn't come necessarily from us taxpayers, but what is it really being used? Instead of just saying tourism, let's see, I would like to see really where these dollars are going, and are there any ways that we can, if we need to cut spending or move where our interests or we need to give our direction to.
John, go ahead.
Budget. There's a lot of spending, just like on a state level, local level, that should not be happening. If it does not affect or help the community, I don't go for it. It has to directly help the community. If you're spending money that has no impact for the community, I'm not for it. There's programs we do that you probably should walk away from. Anything to save taxes.
Sean?
Much like Sabrina, I've been a teacher and had to manage a classroom budget. As an FFA advisor, we had to look at the FFA account. I've been involved with the family business since pretty much the day that I was born. And managing a household, I've been a homeowner here in Franklin County since 2011. All of those have income, all of those have expenses, but you have to manage those expenses in such a way to make sure that you're open for business another day. Everything fluctuates with time. You've got to be prepared for anything that happens. Have a kitty of funds that are ready should the unexpected happen. And while we like to say that, hey, we know what's going to happen in the next 2, 5, 10 years here in Franklin County, that's simply not the case. If we were that good at predicting things, we'd probably have a shop in Las Vegas that people would pay us a lot of money for making some predictions and some wagers, but we don't. And so as having had that practice with the budget of the business, budget of the farm, you've got to be able to ask hard questions. You've also got to be willing to make some changes. You've got to be willing to try new things. And at that same time, you've got to make sure that you're not doing things in such a drastic way that you upset the apple cart. Every action has a cause and effect, has a reaction. We've got to make sure that as we shorten the budget one place, that we don't have an adverse effect somewhere else. And so we've got to really make sure we remember to have that 20,000-foot view as we do that budgeting and see how all of those decisions impact not just the department that we're changing, but make sure we see how it impacts every citizen in Franklin County.
Okay, this will be our last formal question, and then we'll allow each candidate a chance to sum up afterwards. So 90 seconds for this question, and the questions will start with Sean. The county is in the early stages of redoing the comprehensive plan. This plan will affect the county for years to come. How would you go about getting the community involved in this process, and what would you like to see in the comprehensive plan?
As we've mentioned several times tonight with planning and zoning, there's a lot of opportunities that have been offered to our county that we've got to decide how we want to handle it. Think about as alternative energies come in, new businesses potentially would come into our community. We've got to think about how we have planning and zoning structured so that we can not be seen as on my shyness. But some folks would rather just submit their thoughts very quietly through a Google form. And so it wouldn't be just an event-based collection, but we need to look at Google form submission where we verify their address as a resident, but also make sure that we have a comfortable way for them to provide input.
Sabrina.
The comprehensive plan, to me, I think right now is a huge deal. I think with the commercial renewable energies, I think that we need to, before the county would move forward on any large projects, especially something of that nature that could take up 10,000 acres of our property, of the county, we need to have representation to see, as the citizens, all of you sitting out there, how you want to see the county in the next 20 years. As promoting it, I believe, like in the past, they put up billboards in different towns when the meetings were going to be. I think, again, with social media, putting it out there. I also agree that Ottawa right now is currently updating their comprehensive plan, and I like the idea of having a survey that you can send people, because not everybody's going to be able to make the meetings. I think there should be another option to voice their opinions. Also, we just need to push it, like tell people you need to be there, because these Ottawa meetings, there's only been 5 people come to the Ottawa Comprehensive Plan, and you hear complaints, you get on Ottawa, Kansas News, and they will tell you all about what they don't like about Ottawa, but they won't come to a comprehensive plan meeting. And so the same thing here. In 20 years ago, only 117 people came to those meetings, and Franklin County has 27 to 30,000 people. So just pushing it and encouraging people to come.
John?
One of the things I hear is, I hear people say, well, I didn't know this. There has to be better communication. When I did the research on the industrial park, that project's been there for 10 years. The environmental statement was done in 2017. Still people say they didn't hear it. Now, all that was public, just not put out hard. It was just kind of soft. And all the research I did, there was a few documents that I could not get because they were done in closed session. I am completely against closed sessions. And to hold that information for 10 years, that is not for the community. I have a real problem with that. The community has to come first. If you're elected as an official, you're representing you people. It's the community. Like I said earlier, I'm gonna be up to 3. I'm gonna be pounding on doors, because we are one of the poorer communities around here. Our cost, our household income is terrible. Until you start getting it better, we're stuck. But there has to be an open communication with the community. The community has to come first.
Okay, now we'll do a 2-minute summation for each candidate, and you can handle that like you want. If you want to address topics that didn't come up that you want to specifically address, or just give a summation of your candidacy. 2 minutes, and John, we'll start with you.
Like I said, I did put it up on Facebook earlier on the City of Ottawa, and it has had a huge comments on it. Roads were first, control the ditch, control the water. Get the ditches cut. They say there's utilities in there, but if they put the utilities in that shallow, that's their problem, not the county's. Unless they're gonna pay for the roads, the utility companies that did that, we shouldn't be suffering. We can't maintain a road without maintaining the water. I have worked construction. My dad was a concrete finisher. I've been around it since I was 12 years old. I've been in a mini excavator for most of the day today, digging water lines. And there's no air in the mini, so it wasn't a good day. You gotta have somebody that's gonna work.
Interest in this race, there is a taste for a new perspective. There is a taste and an appetite for some new ideas and for some new conversations, and for somebody that's willing to ask hard questions, somebody that's willing to receive some hard answers, and somebody that's willing to make decisions that are in the best interests of the entire residency of Franklin County. I have, as I mentioned, been a lifelong resident of Franklin County. We've been here a very long time, and I'm not planning to go anywhere. So I definitely have a vested interest in seeing what the county looks like tomorrow and into the future. I've had an opportunity to lead in a variety of different capacities, from serving as the state president of Kansas FFA, to working with our local Chamber of Commerce on the executive board. I volunteer with the Ottawa Memorial Auditorium on the Friends Board. There have been so many different opportunities through those Bureau, not only to serve, but also to help have my finger on the pulse of Franklin County, to get to know a lot of folks, to where I have that face-to-face recognition that if people have questions, they have a problem, they feel comfortable coming to me and saying, hey, can you explain to me what's going on? Can you explain to me what our options are? Let's have a conversation here. And so I feel at the end of the day, I'm your guy that can have those conversations, that can look at the positive things that we have done, and also look at the opportunities that we have for tomorrow. Thank you.
Serena.
All right. Well, I'm not always the most eloquent speaker, but I hope that my passion will, and my heart will come through. But my short answer would be, I am passionate for this county. I'm passionate to work to preserve our rural character that we have here while we are, as the county grows in the future, as industry wants to move in. I want to make sure that Franklin County is on the right track and stays that way. Coming into this role, I kind of looked into what is a commissioner supposed to do. And one of the things that stuck out was that a commissioner is supposed to represent the concerns of the county. And that's not just here at this level every Wednesday morning, but it's could be going to city commission meetings, or at the state and federal level, or even school board meetings, to represent the county's concerns. I know that, I want to be an advocate for the county, and I believe that's what we should do as a commissioner. And the other day, one of my dear friends said, Sabrina, you've already been advocating for this county. Look at what you've done with wind and solar. I have spent numerous hours, researching and going to meetings, going to the State House to represent our concerns, helping Douglas, Osage, and Shawnee County in these areas. And that, that is just one thing. That is how I do all things. When the concern of the new property evaluations came out, I stepped up and I started going to meetings, talking to people. I know that they want one thing at the state level is putting a 4% cap on how much your property goes. I was reviewing all testimonies and going, I am here to work for you. That is my passion, and I want to represent you on all levels of the county.
Well, thank you, all of you, and thank you to every candidate that was here this evening, taking time to serve your community and volunteer in a collective way is, I think, one of the best and most important sacrifices that we can make. So let's give all the candidates a round of applause. And I appreciate everybody who took time to come this evening to hear what the candidates had to say. Prepare yourself for the election, which is beginning in less than 2 weeks on July 16th, on July 22nd, early voting begins, and then the election is on August 6th. So that's coming right up. And I'll just say, I hope everybody here is registered to vote, but because this goes out to a wider audience through Facebook, I'll mention that July 16th is the last day to register to vote. And so with that, I will just end by saying that there's candidate material in the back, but anything that is left will be thrown away. It will not be collected. So if you're a candidate and in the room and you have material back there, be sure you take it when you leave. And I see a lot of the candidates are still here and probably very willing to have conversations with you directly. So thanks for coming. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce, AT&T, and KOFO, and have a safe trip home.
I'm happy. And I've been on it for 1 year. For one reason, I have not had years about anything that was affected or something like that. But and that's always been proud of. And I know you guys can't do what I'm talking about. I've never which I know you guys, it's a different situation. But there's been some pretty things